So we're on part 3 of chapter 8, Learning, by David Meyer's 8th edition psychology textbook. So where I left off was intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So remember, intrinsic, you're just doing it because you like doing it. Where extrinsic reward or extrinsic motivation is you're doing it because you're trying to get something like a reward or because there's a punishment involved. Now, Breland and Bailey, they looked at the biological predispositions. So there are biological constraints that kind of predispose organisms and people to learn associations that are naturally adaptive. So what Breland and Breland looked at is they looked at animals, and they looked at animals actually drifting towards their biological predispositions, their instinctive behavior. So whereas you can train a tiger, yes, but please understand, it's a tiger, and its biological predisposition is, to survive. And so if you're beating it with a whip, it might go tiger on you and maybe have you for dinner. So biological predispositions matter. So Skinner's legacy. Skinner argued that behaviors were shaped by external influences instead of inner thoughts and feelings. And so critics argue that Skinner dehumanized people by neglecting their free will. Skinner, he basically believed, and remember the video that we looked at with Skinner's interview, he basically believed that you could take people's behavior and reduce them to mindless machines. And so applications of operant learner, whether you like Skinner or not, Skinner does look at learning machines, teaching machines. And so a lot of the programs that you guys use when you were in elementary school with math and all that stuff, the Leapfrog and all those good programs, those were teaching machines based on operant conditioning. Is that it would shape your learning in a small step, and you would get a reinforcement for correct responses. Application of operant conditioning, reinforcement principles that can actually enhance our athletic performance. We look at reinforcement also affecting productivity at our workplaces. So employers who actually allow people to share in profits actually do a little bit better in their companies because people are more engaged in their they're more engaged, and not only are they more engaged, they've got more at stake here in a business if they actually have some interest in the business. In children, reinforcing good behavior increases the occurrence of these behaviors. Ignoring unwanted behavior decreases their occurrence. So sometimes when kids are having temper tantrums, just let them have the temper tantrum. Just completely turn your, a blind eye to it. And sometimes the temper tantrum goes away because remember, they're throwing a little hissy fit in a store because they want something. Here's a really good chart comparing classical and operant conditioning. I would make certain that I know it. Now, we do have learning by observation. So higher animals, like humans, they learn through observing and actually imitating others. So we learn a lot of stuff by just simply watching other people doing it. So the monkey on the right imitates the monkey on the left in touching the pictures in a certain order to obtain a reward. Hey, that monkey touched these pictures and that monkey got a reward, so I'm going to do the same thing. Monkey see, monkey do. So mirror neurons. Neuroscientists discovered mirror neurons in the brain of animals and humans that are active during observational learning. So we can actually mirror things. So when we see someone in pain, our brain actually lights up in the empathy sections of our brain. Now, Bandura is kind of famous for this observation learning, but we look at learning by observation, and it really begins early in our lives. Kids watch what we do, and then they pick up on it. And you probably have seen a kid who tries to do something like mom did or try and do something like the older kid. This is why the youngest kid is normally a little bit easier to potty train, is because they've been watching their older siblings know how to go to the bathroom on their own, and they're watching it, and they actually learn how to potty train a little bit earlier. So this 14-month-old child imitates the adult on TV by pulling the toy apart. So Bandura's Bobo doll experiment. So in 1961, he looked at children and learning through observation. So what Bandura did was he put children in a room filled with Bobo dolls. And Bobo dolls are those little clowns that you get. They're blow-up dolls, and it bounces right back up at you. And they're clowns, so you guys know that scares me. I hit it too. But he brought in an adult, and the adult would beat up the clown, hit it, really well on that clown. And then he allowed the kids to go into the room with the Bobo doll, and the kids did the exact same thing. They saw an adult a model, show how to beat up, Bobo. And so they did the same thing. As soon as they got in the room, they beat the crap out of Bobo. And what he's really showing is that people do learn through observation. And so this can be applied to like violence in TV. So unfortunately, Bandura's studies show that antisocial behaviors, like our models, like family, neighborhood, or TV, have antisocial effect. So kids who watch a lot of TV that is like real negative programming, they actually start having this antisocial behavior. So it's not saying that every kid who watches violent television is going to be that way. Actually, Bandura says that if your parents are teaching you that this is wrong, that this is not how we solve problems, then people actually go away from it. And I know a lot of you don't believe, anything about Bandura, but please understand, people do observe stuff and they do pick up on it. So fortunately, pro-social, like positive and helpful models, also have a pro-social effect. So, kids watching somebody helping another person out, they're willing to go do it too. So we can observe good behavior and we can also observe bad behavior. Television and observational learning. So Jen Tilley shows that children in elementary school who are exposed to violent television videos and video games express an increase in aggression. So we have noticed that the more aggressive the television programming, the more aggressive the child is. So like what it really means is, TV can't be a babysitter. You need to watch what your kids are watching and hopefully try and screen out some of the bad stuff. Modeling violence. So research shows that viewing media violence led to an increased expression of aggression. So think about it, like you watch these wrestling matches where they're like taking chairs and all this horrible stuff, hitting each other with it. Don't be surprised if your kids start doing the same thing, because kids do model what they see on television. It's why the Saturday morning programming for kids is trying to be like real about morals and trying to teach kids the right way to be, like like My Little Pony or one of those kind of shows. Whereas like those shows like wrestling, not really meant for a 5-year-old, but people do allow their kids to watch it, which is why you have to counter it and tell them that's all fake, it's not real, they're actors and they're totally faking every single thing. They're not even hitting each other on the neck when they're doing all these terrible things. So please know Bandura, know Watson, know Garcia, know Pavlov, know these people because they are important in learning. And that's the last part of learning that we go over.